Well, guys, I'm back, starting to feel a little bit better. And any of you have been around for a while, you'll know that I'm out at the barbecue. There's going to be some kind of a rant going down, and there most definitely is. Let's get into it. I actually sat down to trade today, and I didn't because it was one thing after the other. We'll get into the subject of the video very shortly, but I just thought I'd share this with you guys. Those of you on TradingView, I've mentioned that I've been kind of grandfathered in all this time that I get the 8 charts, even though I'm on the Pro Plus. Well, that ended sometime between last time I traded last week or whatever, or the week before, whatever it was, and today. So I go down and I got 4 charts and all my layouts are all messed up. So that happened right when I was, sitting down to take a look at the market. So I contacted TradingView, still haven't got it fixed up. That's in process at least. But then on top of that, as you guys may know, with my mother, we moved my mother into a house right close to us, and her old house is still not sold. And if she doesn't get a letter of cancellation for her home insurance in the mail, stating that she has home insurance for the other house until January 2nd, and then it's canceled. So I immediately knew what my job for today had to be at that point. Not fully accomplished that yet, but it looks like we've got something else through an outside company. But I will tell you that no regular insurance company around here wants to touch it. If you're not going to live in it, they don't want to do the bother to underwrite it if it's for sale. And if you're not going to be there for 1 week and then back to the other house for 1 week and then go back and forth each week and stay there the whole time, they won't cover her. And even then, they haven't fully approved that. So I'm not going to be bothered with that. So anyway, to the topic at hand. I'm assuming you guys have seen this whole FTX thing. It's not a great big surprise or anything from what I'd followed of SBF and just all the goings on of that company. I can't say that I'm tuned into the crypto space too much, but I'm tuned in enough to know that I wouldn't want to do business with them. In fact, they emailed me several months ago wanting to promote their brokerage on the channel. I get stuff almost every day, which is really kind of weird because, I know the A-list guys and everything in the O'Leary and all that stuff, and I'd maybe a Z list, Canadian Z list, but I get an awful lot of that stuff. And I say no to essentially all of it. I'm not sponsored by anybody. The odd time something looks really interesting, like the tick strike, I will try it, and if I like it, I'll show it to you guys, etc. But I get stuff from crypto brokerages, forex brokers all the time, and I got a couple of emails from FTX this past year, so I'm sure glad I didn't go with that. And I'd be curious to hear from any of you guys out there if you're affected by this, if you've got accounts at, FTX.com or FTX US, how you're affected by it. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Terry Duffy. Terry's the CEO of the CME Group, which of course is Chicago Mercantile Exchange. But I picked up on a story that was very much under the radar this fall, where SBF had proposed that FTX become an FCM. And an FCM is a futures commissioned merchant. Let that sink in for a little bit. Now, at the time, Duffy did a couple of things, but he put up a very large stink with the regulators about even entertaining this proposal. And I read a couple of different interviews, and they had kind of said to him, we're taking it seriously because this is something that may be the way of the future, so we have to give it attention. He was completely outraged. The company wanting to do it, he knew had all this kind of crazy exposure and was not properly regulated. And who knows what was going on, right? So you can just imagine, this could have been an absolute disaster. And I'll bet you a lot of people would have gone with them because they were the big thing. And they were like, oh, I could trade my actual crypto, like my spot crypto. I could exchange my actual crypto and trade futures and borrow on my crypto to trade futures and be like the interactive brokers of crypto. Anyway, it obviously didn't. And in fact, at one point in a conversation, that Duffy was quoted as telling SBF to his face that he's a total fraud. It appears as though he's right innocent until proven guilty, but it sure isn't looking very good, is it? Anyway, in response to this, Duffy did something that kind of put all of our brokers and pretty much everybody that was listening, which I don't think was a whole lot of people if they weren't a broker or somebody in the execution side of the business. He has applied for the CME itself to become an FCM. So that way the CME exchange itself could hold your money execute your trades and essentially cut out the whole middleman. The TD Ameritrade, cut out the Interactive Brokers, the AMP, the Iron Beam, TradeStation, Ninja Trader Brokerage, whatever, and handle everything right there. Now, that could be a huge disruption. It could be attractive dealing with the actual exchange itself. However, I do expect that they would probably have pretty high margins. I think they would do it right if they were going to do it, in that they would be managing their risk very well. So you would probably have much higher margins, but then you would have an even greater concentration of risk if everybody's capital is there. Though, like I say, I do expect they would probably do a good job of managing that. But what about all these other brokers that we've been dealing with for years? You know, some places take customers from different places, others don't. Who knows if the CME would deal with Canadians like me? Who knows if my broker would survive if the CME became an FCM and enough people pulled out it wasn't worth it anymore? Now, I think really whenever Duffy did that, the CEO of the CME, I think he was really just doing that to make a point. You know, partially to make a point, and partially that if FTX actually did go through with that and they were approved, he might have to do that to kind of remain competitive, right? So I don't think he wants to do that, but at the same time, he hasn't withdrawn the application yet. So this is an actual possibility that we may have the Merc itself become a place you can trade with. Let me know what you guys think of that in the comments. Would you want to deal directly with the CME, put your money with them and trade with them? Why and why not? I know for me, I've been quite happy with my brokers that I've used over the last decade plus, and I would want to try and support them and keep with them. You know, one thing about trading futures versus crypto and Forex and things like that, I can go to my broker's website and read their financial statement, and I do every year. And I can see right to the dollar how much they have held in segregated accounts, what type of segregated account, and how much their excess is over what they actually have on deposit. Brokers always have a target excess that's beyond the mandatory amount to hold. As of last year, it was approximately 12 or I think maybe 10 or 12 or 13% above what their actual segregated funds were held in the accounts. So a nice margin of error. You know, anybody can lie, anybody can fudge books. That was a close one. But the fact that they have that and that they are as regulated as they are, they have to report everything to multiple securities agencies. That's the kind of place I'm willing to put my money. And even at that, that's a risk because it's not guaranteed if they do go bust in Canada. If I put my money with a futures broker up here, it's guaranteed same as a bank. The government will cover it if the broker goes bust up to a certain amount. It's $1 million here. That's perfectly safe. Now I take on a little bit of extra risk so that I can have $500 margins instead of $5,000 margins. I'm fine with that because the fact that I only have a $500 margin means I can keep 10 grand or so in my account, and that's all I need to keep there. Worst case, my broker were to have been messing all this, doing this exact same stuff, which they couldn't because they wouldn't be able to get away with it, I don't think, but say they did. My worst case scenario, I'm out 10 grand. That's going to be a really crappy day, but it's not going to take me out. But if you're like some of these poor people that have had all their investments at FTX, all in crypto or held as collateral, etc., and it's all gone, I couldn't imagine that. And from my own stupid mistake, well, at least you can accept that, but not from a broker who has been just taking your money and using it as their own for who knows how long. So anyway, guys, just a few thoughts on another day off. It's getting dark. Burgers are done. Sausages are done. It's time to go in. But let me know what you think of all this down there. Thank you so much for watching. As always, grab my cheat sheet newsletter, daytradernextdoor.com. Thanks for all your well wishes. I am feeling better. I'm hoping to trade tomorrow. Not going to make any promises. We'll see what happens. But either way, we'll see you soon.